Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I know that right now in the big theater there is the future of React, everything that's going to be coming down the pipe in the future. And I was actually really excited to have the opportunity to be in a smaller room with people to talk about what React actually means for us today. For the last, I guess, 5 years, I've been doing developer education with various teams. I worked at Storybook and Chromatic for a little bit, and more recently with WorkOS, kind of figuring out the auth thing for everybody. And before that, I worked as a front-end architect for a company for 10 years, and something that I got to do was communicate how we were going to successfully migrate to whatever new thing that we needed to migrate to, and kind of build up a plan for that. So in this session, you're going to see a lot of diffs. You're going to see a lot of charts, opinions about kind of what the today, next week, the next handful of months look for you as you start migrating your apps and building with React 19. So if you're in, let's go. Okay, so I made the unadvisable mistake of making all of these slides a web page on my website, so it may be kind of glitchy, but you will have access to them. So if you want to pull those up, you can kind of go through those, click around, do everything. You should be seeing everything that I'm seeing. If not, I'm sorry. It should resolve at some point soon. I have my frame is a little bit weird. I don't know if I did something. Okay, so first, I'm Chantastic on social medias. I used to do a podcast that you may have heard called React Podcast. I stopped a while ago due to my midlife crisis, unfortunately. So now I just post nonsense about microplastics on my social medias. So if you want to hear more of that great content, you can go there. And like I said, I work for a company called WorkOS. We make the best login box in the world, and it's free for 1 million active users. And it'll take you everything from a prototype to enterprise ready. It's pretty great. So with that out of the way, let's talk. I want to make sure that if you end up having to leave in 5 minutes, that you get the most out of this talk. So the big high-level feature or kind of things that we're learning about React 19 are, as far as I can tell, 4 big things. So first and foremost, if you look at the migration docs, there is a huge emphasis on really encouraging TypeScript. You'll see that a lot of the runtime type safety features that have been in React previously are fully going away. And half of the migration doc just talks about improvements to types, partnerships with the TypeScript definitely typed, etc. There's also endorsing the testing library philosophy, where you kind of test from the outside in. This benefits accessibility of your components. It's really is the best way to test. It makes your tests more durable. And we're getting away with test utils and shallow rendering and all that kind of stuff. We're going to cover that. We're also embracing compilers. Other frameworks, like Svelte, have been doing this since day one, and we're starting to see a lot of motion in that. We're not going to cover that. Shruti gave a really good talk that includes a lot more detail on the compiler. The docs are probably the best place for that. It's really an integration thing at this point. And finally, there's just a lot of things where they're embracing the platform a little bit better. We'll talk about those features, but they're embracing the platform in a way that I'm really excited about as someone who came up learning HTML and CSS, and I've always felt a little bit at odds with React for how much it owns everything and makes you a React developer. So we're getting a little bit back to the web. Now, this is kind of, I made a little quadrant graph, if you will, of kind of how I see these features kind of playing into your applications in your life today. So there are things that are internal to React, so things that are core to the React library. There are things that are kind of come with a framework may that be like next.js or Remix or Redwood or other frameworks that haven't even been invented yet. We have removed APIs in React 19 and new APIs. Now, I'm thinking about this a little bit like today, what you can do. So there's a version React 18.3, which is 18.2, which is the version that we've had for, I think, like 2 years now. But it warns for all of the APIs that are going to be removed. So this is something that you can upgrade to today, get all your code safe for React 19 when that eventually ships. And then, tomorrow we have some kind of things that are like kind of on this cusp where libraries are going to have to like update from some of the strategies that they've used, and this may be your responsibility to actually update some or fix some of your dependencies, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We're not going to talk about this quadrant up here, RSCs and server actions, just because they don't really apply to all React developers yet. And we are going to talk about actions, metadata, scripts, and style sheets, the new APIs that we have. So a quick sheet for you to look at. These are all of the APIs that are going to be going away in React 18, and you'll get warnings for, React 19, and you'll get warnings for in 18.3. So prop types, dead. Default props, dead. Context types, get child context. String refs, create factory, module pattern factory. Some of these things, you may have never seen in your life before. Test utils, React DOM render, React DOM hydrate, unmount component at node, find DOM node. The prop types library is dead. React test renderer shallow is all going away. Now, one thing that I really love is the React team has been very dedicated to providing code mods for all of these things, and I found them to be like really well documented. So you can check out the code mods repo. They give you instructions on how to run them. It's pretty great way to migrate your app without having to touch all the code. Now, something that's exciting about React is that you can no longer get fired for using secret internals. That's pretty exciting. But also it means that you may have a very hard time upgrading if you have a lot of unmaintained older dependencies. So we're changing the secret internals secret internals prefix, and it's going to be changed from secret internals do not use or you will be fired to do not use or warn users they cannot upgrade. Now, I did a little quick search on GitHub, and it looks like there are, let me open this in the right one. Yeah, looks like this actually grew since I grabbed this number. There are now 12.3 thousand files with references to secret internals do not use. And so I can almost guarantee that something that you depend on today will probably require an update. And something I always like to say is you own what you install. So this is your problem. It could be a problem for you very soon. So kind of take a good, strong look at your dependencies. Okay, so type safety in React 19. So you're gonna see a lot of diffs at this point. We have some really exciting stuff. This is like historical code. This is the type of stuff that I came up on. This was my actually first experience with type safety, was being able to use prop types, and it really kind of introduced me to the concept of type safety. And like, I don't know, it has a soft spot in my heart. However, TypeScript is just so much better, and now we even have language features in modern JavaScript that allow us to provide default values for some of our things. So all these APIs are going away. That's great. Whoops. Went too far. We have better use reducer types. So all of this nonsense that you had to do in order to like make a use reducer play nicely with TypeScript, that's gone, and you can just write a reducer. You can put your types on there. It's super great. useRef requires an argument now, and that is I don't know, good, I guess. So it does allow us to get rid of some types. So there's what is it, mutable ref type, which would allow you to kind of like change the value over time if it was ever null. And now that just gets to go away now that React requires that value up front. I'm not going to spend too much time on all of these, but you got a ref cleanup is required now for type safety, and React element has changed to unknown from any. There's also a slight change to the JSX namespace. You now have to put that inside of React to kind of eliminate any collision with other libraries. And yeah, testing is officially just just use testing library already. Now, one thing that you will know, with all those APIs going away, all the test utils going away, Act, which is a very important method for testing, has moved into the React proper library. So you should be able to get rid of that test utils dependency altogether. All right, so now one thing that I have just historically loved, we're going to shift gears here a little bit. I read this book a long time ago. It was just called Refactoring, I think. I should probably have figured out the actual title of that. But it got me thinking about the ways in which we think about migrating code and how for every type of transition that your code might go through, there are these tiny little steps that you can do to like take it from one place to the other. They're predictable, they're repeatable, and it can give you a lot of a feeling of safety around making changes that you might not have like intended to make, or like library changes, etc. So we're going to start today. I'm going to show you a handful of visualizations to introduce you to a handful of new React features. Starting with something that I'm extremely excited about, which is use action state. This is where we actually bring in some of the browser's great form APIs, not great, but familiar form APIs into the React library. So we're going to start with what you see on screen here is just this classic click counter. You have some type of use state. On click, you're going to increment. You're going to call that updater function and increment. So use state just becomes use action state. We're going to take our increment function and we're going to put that inside of our use action state. So that's one of the major moves, is that action goes inside of use action state when you're making this migration. After that, you're going to call form action, and form action is an API that actually gets added to input, button, and submit. Maybe I think there's one other, but all of the kind of form-related elements you can call form action on. Then you just change this to a form, and everything works as it did before with your button counter, but now you're actually using proper form elements, which is super exciting. And we'll start to see why that's cool in just a second. So by definition, in React 19, an action is some type of like asynchronous functionality. So while we're using the use action state here, because this isn't an async handler, it's not technically an action. So we can make this asynchronous, still the same thing, but now we've kind of like decoupled it from being immediate. And now we can do things like await some type of action. So like right now, I'm just kind of simulating with time that some network request is going to happen. Something's going to happen that we don't know how long it's going to take. And because it's asynchronous, it's all going to, this is going to be handled for us. Now, I'm actually going to open a playground for this, so we can look at that. You can see kind of how this works. So we went from that like kind of classic button example that we're familiar with, and through actions, we've been able to make this asynchronous. And if I click this, you'll see like a short delay, and then that number increases. Now, we hate delays, though. Delays suck. So we have methods of handling that as well. So use optimistic is a way in which we can maintain the immediacy of what we had with use state, but then also in the background run this asynchronous process. Now, with the code that we had above, let's see. So we have our action here. We're going to introduce a new hook. This is React use optimistic. We're going to take the count that we get from our use action state, and we're going to pull off a optimistic count. So this is a value that's going to kind of optimistically be updated indifferent to kind of how long the request takes. Sorry, let me zoom this out just a little bit. Okay, cool. Then, just like use state, we're going to have an updater function that we pull off, and we're going to define this one in line. We have access to both state and then also the optimistic count that gets sent to us via this action, which is, let's see, when we're calling it, right? Oh, I haven't called it yet. And then all we have to do is call inside of our asynchronous function this update optimistic with our next count value and change our render function to use the optimistic count. Now, the cool thing about this is just with these 3 lines of code, we've been able to track this data, or React automatically tracks this data for us. So let's open up our playground for this one. And you can see how our experience has improved. So we're going to click this, and the number automatically updates. So number goes up, but then we have this spinner while that asynchronous process goes along. This is such an amazing experience for users to be able to think about a chat client where people are able to post stuff and have that feeling of real time, even though it's actually going to a network. It might take a little bit of time. There may be delays. So really cool API here with around the form actions. So let's see, we got 57 seconds left. Let's see how much more we can get through. Now, I won't necessarily go through all of these then. The actions are not limited to the buttons. I actually prefer to handle these on the form. And the cool thing about when you do these on the form, you have access to the kind of browser-style form data. So if we put a hidden field on this, we can actually take form data as the second argument for our actions and do whatever we want with it. So super cool API that actually bring web forms back into the fold. And actually, I think 15 seconds, we can do the last one. Okay, so there's this new API called Use. It's super awesome. And it interacts with context very nicely. So context, now you can kill these providers. So that's pretty cool. You can just cut those out of the way. And we can now use to conditionally render things that use that would have otherwise used hooks. So use context and whatnot. And this is super cool because it allows us to use is not a hook, and it allows us to bypass some of those hard required rules of hooks that we've grown to hate. So anyway, I think that's it. I think we just hit time, but hopefully some of these help you. Again, all these examples are up on the on my website, and I'm really excited about kind of what the kind of near term of React allows us to do, integrating the kind of greatness of web forms and HTML with React. So that's it. Thanks so much for your time, and hit me up if you have any questions.